Yes, you were saying.
Yes, the situation here that we're faced is with the election of this new pope. Now, as you are well aware, Argentina at one time was part of the network that allowed the World War II Nazis to move part of their wealth around and part of their people around.
Uh-huh.
Just to do a little history, after World War II, there were two channels that that moved people from Europe to the Americas. One was Operation Paperclip from
Yeah.
Spain to the United States, and the other one was the Red Lines to South America.
Okay.
As you are well aware, some submarines left Germany. One of the submarines went to, I believe, Labrador or Canada, which carried the information of the atom bomb and scientists and many other inventions. Some say even the transistor and free energy plans to the United States. And the other submarine came to Patagonia, where they unloaded the gold with the Salesian priests, the Don Bosco priests. The Don Bosco priests were primarily the ones responsible for the genocide in Patagonia of Argentine and Chilean natives, original people, through their schools, very similar to the Canadian residential schools.
Right.
Up to this day, they're fascist. You go to a Don Bosco school in Patagonia, and it's a fascist network even today. Uh, um, the gold that came to Argentina, part of the gold went to the Bush family because the Bush family, the grandfather Bush, as you well know, Hoover, did an investigation, and he was tried, and I believe he was jailed for dealing with the Enemy Act, and they lost a big portion of their fortune. Part of the gold that was left in Patagonia with the Salesians was given to the Bush family in the 50s. That's why Bush has a lot of connection in South America, in Paraguay and in Argentina.
Right.
And the other part of the gold was invested in multinational companies like Techin and Perex Compact. Okay?
Right.
This,
Just to make it clear, because right at the beginning of the conversation, you
yes,
said that now there's a great danger because what the Vatican is planning to do is to transfer the treasures of the Vatican and the Vatican
yes,
Bank through the same
yes,
line to Argentina, through the same lines that it used after World War II to escape through the Nazis. So that's what you're describing now. Is that it?
one moment, please. Yes, they would be using the same network. They would
Yeah.
be using the same
Do you
network.
have video at your end?
Yes.
Could you turn on your camera? Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And
Uh,
and your name is
Elias, Edward Elias.
Edward Elias. Okay.
Now, the situation we have here, as you are well aware, during the last 10 or 13 years, South America has been going through um, a transformation. Now, many times when you study the politics, you study situations, uh, you really cannot find the roots until you're well into 10, 20, or 30 years. For example, in 1997, 1998, many people were aware of the coming terrorist attacks in the United States, but the culprit was very elusive, and it was not fully proved until 2003, 2004. Over here in Latin America, we started a process with the water wars in Bolivia in 1999, 1998, and it turned into a change in government in Bolivia, a change in government in Argentina, Venezuela, Ecuador, later in Peru, Brazil, Uruguay. We started in a shift. Now this shift, where does this shift come from? Is this shift based on a Marxist shift, which I don't think so, or is it based on a liberation theology shift, which is let's say socialism for Catholics, we can call it the liberation theology.
Right.
Now,
and that's Vatican based, you're saying.
And that's Vatican based. So, wow, is the murder of Chavez, the election of this Pope, a reaction to Chavez's murder?
Right.
Now, another interesting thing, the president of Argentina has also been attacked. Okay, she has cancer also.
Right.
This woman has lost her mind completely since she started treatment for her cancer. She has lost her mind completely, and she is surrounded by opportunists on the best of things and outright crooks on the worst end. Okay, now
Right.
her reaction is very weird because her reaction is genuflection to this guy right after his election, while her husband and the people that follow her on the grassroots are very anti-Catholic.
Right.
Okay, but it's so. I mean, the facts. I mean, the real intelligence is make sense of a lot of facts. We have a lot of facts. Now, where is this going to end up? Now, what I see as the real danger is if these people can bring all the wealth to South America, they can pay our debt with pocket change. If they pay our debt with pocket change, they can take control of this continent with little or no effort. Because people, I mean, with very little investment, South America, because of the resources and everything, can produce much more than North America. And even if you have a crooked government, if you're giving the people benefits, people will follow through, even though in the long run it will be to their detriment. Now, I think that's the danger. Now,
Right.
now we know, and this is a speculation on my part. We know that much gold was stored under the Twin Towers, and
Right.
I believe that gold was removed long before they put the explosives on those towers.
Okay.
And when that tower came down, the gold was lost, and nobody asked about the gold anymore. Now, how about if in the Vatican they do the same thing? They move the gold to Argentina. All the lawsuits start coming through. They feel the heat of being being repossessed or being having all these outstanding lawsuits. A bomb comes into the Vatican, and all the gold is lost. So they become a poor church, like this guy is trying to portray. Saint Francis, now we're going to have a poor church.
I I see
while they
what.
have their
Yeah,
booty, while they have
I
their
see what you're
while
saying.
they have their booty all locked up in a safe place.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. Also, this guy has very close connections to Israeli intelligence. And if you know that if you want to call a good demolition
You're
team
saying that Pope Francis is closely connected to Israeli intelligence?
in Argentina, yes, he has close connections, even publicly, even publicly.
That is to Israeli intelligence in Argentina. He has close
Yes,
connections.
yes, yes. That's why I mean this is all tied also to the AMIA problem and to the problem with the government of Argentina cooperating with Iran to find the real culprit of the bomb here in Buenos Aires. I mean, this is a big thing. This is a big
What
thing.
what bomb was that? Just to remember.
Okay. President Clinton started a peace plan for the Middle East back in the 90s. He worked with both Yasser Arafat and he worked with Yitzhak Rabin. Rabin, he was no dove, but I mean, every person had to come to his senses at one time or another. And he came to his senses, realizing that, I mean, you have to reach a peace plan. I mean, you cannot live in perpetual war in a country which is 20 miles wide. Okay? So he agreed to a peace plan based on 1967 borders. From the United States, an assassin was sent and they murdered Rabin. Now, to know the connection between the United States and the ultra right wing in Israeli politics, we have to go back to Reagan. When Reagan made a deal with John Paul II and the ultra right Israeli faction, okay, which when they killed Rabin, they took control of the government, which I mean, it was a coup d'état, really. The Jews from Argentina are mostly the descendants from country people, from Poland, Ukraine, and Russia. In the vast majority, they are left leaning. They are not right wing leaning. And they are the third largest group of people in the world. I mean, they call them the diaspora, the third
Yeah,
biggest diaspora.
yeah.
Okay? Now, if you have the Jews from Argentina being left leaning, in many cases being anti-Zionist, because many of the leading Jews in the Communist Party in Argentina were anti-Zionist, and many of those people had a big weight on the social and political spectrum here in Argentina. They were a problem because if you have the third diaspora willing to go through to a two-state solution or willing to have a secular state in what we call Israel, that was a bad example that they could not support. They had to get rid of them.
Right.
So the first bomb was in the embassy, and the second bomb was in the AMIA, in the Jewish Mutual, which at that time was a social club. Okay,
These are bombs in
bombs
Buenos
raised
Aires.
in Buenos Aires, which they ended up blaming Iran for
And what year did these occur
in 94, 95.
Okay.
Six. Okay, when they killed Rabin, as part of the coup d'état, they did the coup d'état here too. At the same time, they kill Rabin, they do the coup d'état here to
I
take
see.
for the ultra right wing to take control. Now,
I got you.
There's a lot of connection with the ultra right wing in Zionism and Nazism. I mean, they're indistinguishable in many aspects.
Right.
Okay, that's how you find, for example, somebody like Bush of a Nazi stock working very closely with the ultra right wing Israelis.
Right.
Okay, Now, so basically, there was a coup d'etat at that time. And since that coup d'etat, I mean, Israel has been going from bad to worse. And the war has been, and the bloodshed has been getting every time worse. Of course, they're at the hands of an ultra right wing, which, I mean, if we want to go deeper into the facts, it's very possible that that ultra right wing, what it's looking for is the actual destruction of the Jews, because at the bottom they're Nazis.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Now, in Argentina, we're at the center of all that. Even though we're a third world country, we are at the center of all this conspiracy, want to call it, that our Europe has always had, because the Spanish Civil War, Garibaldi, going back to the 19th century, Argentina was very instrumental as a side base, of always of what went on in Europe.
Right.
Okay. Going more on this theme, so I think the imminent danger is if these people can get their wealth to Argentina, we're lost.
You mean if the Vatican can transfer its wealth to Argentina, then that consolidates with the right-wing Zionists and with the fascists who are down there into a new power center.
And right, and then we have to find out how the useful idiots, are in some way connected to this, because there's a lot of, I mean, sometimes you're working for A and really you're working for B. Yeah. Now, how is this connected? I mean, has Chavez's murder have something to do with the election of this guy?
Has whose murder? Oh, Chavez.
Chavez's murder has it some? I mean, to answer that, which I don't have the answer, but I think if we many times, many people show a Jesuit connection between Fidel Castro and the Jesuits.
Right.
If we can establish a connection between Fidel Castro and the Jesuits, then we can establish a connection between Chavez and the Jesuits. And if we can establish a connection between Chavez and the Jesuits, then we can establish a connection between Chavez's murder and the election of this guy.
Huh.
And the loss of the backyard is strictly connected to the waning of power of the United States.
Well, you know that Fidel Castro went to Belén, which is the Jesuit, which was, before the revolution, the Jesuit school in Havana. This went from K through 12 grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was a student at Belén,
which
was the
I myself been through Catholic schools. I've been through Protestant to Lutheran schools. Yeah. I mean, judge a man by his education as a child. I mean, really. I mean, if I use myself as an example, I mean, if anything, it made me turn against them, not for them. But
yeah. Yeah, but the i.e. Castro has a childhood connection to the Jesuits.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see what you're saying, that by getting Chavez out of the way and by weakening the other Latin American leaders through bioweapons such as cancer, then this allows this Zionist fascistic element to come into Latin America, now with the Argentinian Pope.
Let's see, the fascist elements in Latin America have been here all along. They never left. I mean, let's be real. Latin America has never, I mean, South America has never had a left-leaning government, Allende, except
Yeah.
Allende. Okay, but in South America, has never had a real left-leaning president. It's always been a variation of fascism. Even Perón, which is a populist, he was very fascistic. He
Yeah.
had connection with the Logia Pedue, Operation Gladio,
Yeah.
the Banco Ambrosiano. I mean, he was at
Yeah.
the center of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, to me, the red flag at this point is if they move their wealth to Argentina like the Nazis did, we're screwed. And it's going to be more than Latin American screwed. I think, they're going to create such power, they could create such power here that they could leave North America and Europe obsolete because they're killing North America and Europe economically and intentionally.
Right. So this is the new power center
They could
move.
create a new power center here. They could create a new power center, and people like you and me are forget it. We're going to face another
Yeah.
inquisition.
Well, okay. Well, but our job is to make all of this public.
Well, that's the idea. I
Yeah.
mean, if we say if these people move, there's a chance they'll do a false flag to hide, to say that they lost all their gold, that they lost all their riches.
Yeah.
But we know that they could have the intention of moving the stuff to Argentina, that
Yeah.
they've been sitting the ground for 13 years. Because I mean, it's very strange. I mean, the left tide that has taken over South America for the last 13 years is not Marxist. It's not Marxist.
Right.
And all left leaning ideology in South America is church based.
Yeah.
It's church based, and if it's church based, it's Jesuitic. Look at the history of the Misiones Jesuíticas and
Yeah.
Paraguay. The Jesuits made Paraguay a superpower as far as technology and production, and the powers of Europe had to destroy Paraguay 3 times.
Wow.
The last time they killed every single man over the age of 14.
Wow.
They killed every single man over the age of 14. They took Mitre, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil in the War of the Triple Alliance, and they killed every single Paraguayan male over the age of 14. To the extent that after that, Paraguay had to legalize polygamy. And the men that went, mostly from Argentina, had 4, 5, 6 wives. Because there were no men, and the country was lost.
Amazing.
And, well, the previous time was, I don't know if you saw the movie The Mission with Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Paraguay, Argentina. The Jesuits were starting to create production, and the Portuguese and the Spanish, ordered by the Pope and the British, just wiped them out. So, I mean, that doesn't mean they're good. It's just, I mean, they're conflicting forces, and the Jesuits have a history of roots in South America from the 1500s.
Yeah.
Now, as everything on this type of things, we don't know that what courses can this take. Have they used the fascistic elements in South America to gain power or to try to change things? And then once they do that, I mean, On this type of things, you don't know. You don't
Right.
know.
Right.
You know, like it was on the Twin Towers in 1997, 1996. I mean, in 1997, 1996, I was saying there will be another, there will be terrorism in the United States, and it will be Christian based. Now, when times went by, that Christian base we started recognizing as Christian Zionism. And when we recognize Christian Zionism, then, I mean, it opened a whole new ball of wax.
Yeah. Now, tell me, what do you think we should be looking for now? What should we be monitoring with regard to this new Pope, with regard to the Vatican's move, the transfer of its wealth, Argentina, South America?
Okay, he already announced that he's coming in July.
Okay.
Okay, now, what I see, I mean, to do it in a romantic way, do you see the movie Dracula?
Well, I've seen many versions of Dracula.
Where they empty the castle and they put the dirt on boxes and they move it. You know, that's how that's how I.
So you think he's coming with his coffins?
I think he's coming with a coffin and the dirt. I mean, I don't know if it could be as early as July. I mean, what we know, once the false flag attack in Vatican takes place, because they've been seeding that idea for a hell of a long time, that the Vatican is going to blow up, okay? Once they blow up the Vatican, we know that they already moved their riches, so it's too late.
That's really interesting. That's a very interesting concept, because there have been bombs going off in the Vatican.
And they've been, and through prophecy, they've been calling it for. I mean, they've seeded the collective unconscious has been seeded with the idea of a blowing Vatican since the time of Lourdes.
Yes, there are periodically there are bombs that go off in the Vatican.
And also, if you listen to Fatima, I call it a Virgine che parla. Okay, the Virgines che parla are a war item, because the Virgines that parla, the Virgins that talk, if you pay attention, okay, they talk always when there's conflict, and they give political information. If you look, for example, at the Virgin of Medjugorje in Yugoslavia during the war, I mean, the Virgin talked more than Fidel Castro. Every day was talking, the Virgin of Medjugorje. The war ended, she didn't talk anymore. But she talked in code. In the movement, the movement of troops, the movement, okay? If you look, for example, in the United States, they're using it the same way. And during the 90s, oh, I'm getting feedback, I don't know why. During the 90s, there used to be, I used to be in Riverside. There used to come on and off through AM radio and AM radio mostly, or FM radio sometimes, preachers taking quotes of the Bible. And if you learn to listen to them, you could even predict when they're going to do the next hit, to the point that I called the FBI, being still naive and young. I called the FBI and I told them that day they're talking to do this, and it did happen.
This is in Riverside, California?
Yeah. And I finally broke the code on that.
Yeah,
and it did happen.
So you were listening to preachers, and
preachers
then
would come on the air out of nowhere. Preachers would come on the air out of nowhere, and they would start preaching. And those preaching, the numbers they give, the
verses of the Bible,
the verses and the words were orders. Later, I found out that the organization was called Leaders Without Resistance, or Resistance Without Leaders.
Resistance Without Leaders.
That were based in San Bernardino, right by Riverside.
So, are these an example of the Christian Zionists that you're talking about?
No, no. Well, I mean, like I said, when I broke the code and I called the FBI, and it did happen. But the FBI, I guess, like always, they don't give a shit. So
Yeah.
they never go back or anything. Um, the official story, they say that resistance without leadership, it's a Nazi
Oh,
idea.
oh, it's a Nazi
But
organization.
that's what. But I mean, after seeing what happened during the '90s in the United States, with Elohim City, with Timothy McVeigh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
these
was
are all
all
false
created,
flags.
all false flags, all false flags,
Yeah.
and
So now
they
we
in the
have to
United
look
States.
at today is actually Tuesday, March 19th. Today is when Pope Francis the First is being installed on today.
And it and it's horrendous to
And
see
and
what they're doing on TV and how people are reacting.
yeah,
You know,
and
and it's
and he's going
it's
to
incredible,
Argentina in July of 2013,
right?
and
And
that might be a false flag for the transfer of assets.
I believe so. And to cover the tracks, and to cover the tracks, now he's trying to beatify, which is the first step before sanctity.
Yeah,
He's trying to beatify priests which were murdered by the government in Argentina during the 70s, which he was part of because he was a friend of Macera, of the Loggia Pedue. He was a friend of Videla, the dictator. Now today he's beatifying the
the
victims.
priest, so that he's engaging in the big lie technique.
It's I mean
Yeah, he's
he's
engaging in the big lie
beatifying
technique.
he's beatifying the same people.
Yeah,
We call it in Argentina buchonear. He's beatifying the same people that he pointed so they can get disappeared. I mean, it's madness. It's
yeah, yeah. Well, there is learned hermeneutic scholars. Some of them have said that he qualifies to be Petrus Romanus, this pre-identified pope, who is also known in the book of Revelation as, quote, the false prophet. So
no.
these are sort of satanic entities.
I think he's Petrus Romanus because if he moves the assets, he creates the new Vatican here, and he gives people a high standard of living. He's going to refund being the new founder of the new Christianity, of the new Catholicism, and then he's going to be Petrus Romanus. He's going to be the new Peter. He's going to build a new church. See, that's where the Petrus Romanus comes in
I see.
as the new Peter. The new Peter. What did the old Peter do? Build the Vatican. What did the new Peter do? Build the new Vatican.
Interesting.
Now I give you another thing. There was an Argentine seer. Okay, I put seer. Okay, right, like the Virgine che parla, another Virgine che parla.
Yeah.
Okay, that casualty. It was of the family of Mariquita Sanchez de Thompson. Mariquita Sanchez de Thompson was one of the original families, oligarchical families here in Argentina, which were Spanish-British. Okay, there were two
Right.
lines here in Argentina: the French side and the Spanish-British side. The Spanish always sided with the British, and the
Right.
French always tried it, okay, to control the British and the Spanish.
Right.
That's why in Argentina, you say, well, where does the French influence comes from? I mean, historically, they don't give it to you, but there were very strong French agents in Argentina, and very strong cultural influence from the
Right.
French. Okay, Mariquita Sanchez de Thompson was a was a British English, okay, a British Spaniard, okay, which were the ones that opened the door to Buenos Aires when the British invaded, and a Frenchman by the name of Liniers stopped the invasion. So I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at the history of Argentina, they always have those sides there.
Right.
Um, a descendant of this woman was a Virgine que parla. Okay, supposedly he mixed. He said to start off the thing. He said he was abducted by a new UFO on the obelisk on 9 de Julio in downtown Buenos Aires. He started with that. Then he changed the story that the Virgin was talking to him. But the important thing is that like most of these Virgenes que parla seers are always connected to political events that are man-made.
Right.
They never call off. They never call off an earthquake or a freeze over or whatever. They always call off things which are man-made. Which is, I don't know if you look at the Webbot. Have you followed the Webbot?
Oh yeah.
The Webbot is very accurate, but it's always the stuff that's man-made.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, I mean, this type of disseminated information, I believe, is a type of way of disseminating information on a network of intelligence, and those who understand the words will interpret it in order to make something out of it. It's like there's a Russian shortwave radio that's been going on for decades with beeps and sounds and nobody knows what it is, but I'm sure it means something to somebody somewhere. Okay,
Right.
you know, and these are the same thing. Well, this guy talked about the Argentine Pope and the resurgence of Argentina after the power left the United States.
Yeah.
And he gives a very pretty detailed account, a bird's eye of what has been going on for the last 80, 90 years.
Yeah.
And like I say, if we fall under an autocratical rule with the money backing that these people have, I mean, we're pretty much we're out of this continent.
Well, you know that Benjamin Parravicini.
I'm talking about Benjamin Parravicini.
Yeah.
That's who I'm talking about.
You are. Oh, well,
yeah, right.
I've seen his drawings of the Argentine Pope. That was made in 1940.
Well, I'll tell you something about Benjamin Parravicini.
Okay.
My father has been an investigator on the paranormal for over 50 years.
Oh wow.
We came here in Argentina 1970s, and we tried to meet Mr. Parravicini while he was still alive.
I see.
And I remember I was about 7 to 10 years old. We studied it for 4 years, and the drawings are not, many of them are not the same. I mean, the drawings you could see in the 60s and the 70s are not the same drawings that you see today. And new drawings pop up all the time.
Oh, you mean so that there are forged drawings?
I believe so. I believe so. I believe so. And what I can attest to is what I saw. What I saw in the 60s on from the printings of the 60s and the printing of the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, I can attest to that. But then, I mean, we had all the collection back then, and there was many people, many images popping out today, which I didn't see back then.
Yeah, because I've seen a whole number of them, including the BP oil spill, allegedly.
Well, I mean, the BP oil spill. There was one called the American elephant throws black oil through his trunk.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it's that one they attribute to the spill.
Yeah, the VPOS bill.
Yeah, that one was back. I saw back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the
good.
one about Pope and about, for example, they had New Argentina in 2000. Like I say, many times you see things years later. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, I've I've been here in Argentina on a variety of political movements.
Yeah.
I've gone grassroots, and I can tell you one thing: if there's not a blessing from somewhere, you cannot do anything. And I don't know if that blessing is some kind of capo di tutti capi
Yeah.
that manages thing, or if it's supernatural, or if it's spiritual. I don't know. But if you are not blessed by some force unknown, you cannot do anything.
Well, there's a. I mean, I've just at a very superficial level, I've made various trips there to Capilla del Monte
Uh huh.
and around that area. Now, there are many different versions of where Hitler went, but there's one version that he was in that area.
Well, I mean, incredibly enough, I tend to believe a couple of middle ranking actors, comedians here from Argentina,
Uh-huh.
that they swear that they saw Hitler in Mendoza.
Yeah, yeah. Um, in fact, the hotel where Hitler was staying was pointed out to me. I actually
Hmm.
saw it. That is where he was reportedly staying for a while. I actually saw it.
Was that in Cordova? The one, the
Yeah,
the one.
yeah.
Yeah,
In that area.
yeah. Supposedly he only stayed there a few days.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
most people talk about Mendoza and him dying in 1973.
yeah. Now that's one version. There are many other versions
Yeah, but I said,
of of what of his
this
history.
guy, this comedian has no axe to grind,
Yeah,
and he said I saw him publicly. He has said I saw him in '73. I mean, he has no axe to grind. I
yeah,
mean, he has
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
to gain
It's good.
from
It's good. Well,
you know.
what I'd like to do is to be able to check back with you from time to time as we monitor this, so
I
that
think I
so
think
that
time.
so that
I,
so that you can report on this.
well, I think time is of the essence,
Yeah,
and the attitude that the president has taken is it's very worrisome. The
you mean
attitude
that
she has taken,
uh, the president of Argentina?
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, her her goal in meeting with him was purely Argentinian, which would have to do with the Falkland Islands and
Yeah, but
Las Malvinas, and now uh, Cameron, David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain, and the Queen would not go to the installation of the Pope, even though even though the Queen is subservient to the Pope under the secret Treaty of Verona.
mhm.
And so, in a way, I was thinking this morning, I'd just like to run this by you. Under Benedict, Benedict went to London and spoke in the inner sanctum of the New World Order, which is Westminster Hall. Only three personages of the New World Order have spoken there, and that's the Queen, the Pope, the Queen, and the Obama. Obama is kind of in the New World Order archetypes.
Mhm.
And he spoke there on May 24th or 25th,
Mhm.
2011. Now, but what happened with this Pope is the president of Argentina, Cristina, no,
Mhm.
went in there and said, look, I want you to mediate the issue of the Falkland Islands. And he had taken a position on the Falkland Islands that they were Argentine. And that brought in a schism between England and the papacy now, between the British monarchy and the papacy, because he's taken a prior position. So that all of a sudden, normally the prime minister and the queen even would go over to the installation, because under the Treaty of Verona, they're deep allies. But now they're staying away, and he sent a lowly cabinet minister. So I said to myself, wow, that's great, because Cristina Fernandez, is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah. She has now set the two of the New World Order totems, namely the Pope, the false prophet, and the Queen, namely the Antichrist, against each other. So they're starting to disintegrate. So that's a hopeful scenario. So I'm just showing you how you can see this as the old order crumbling right before our eyes.
Well,
and it's over a temporal issue of Las Malvinas, of the Falkland Islands. But it shattered the agreement of the secret treaty of Verona, because now the Pope and the Queen are at odds, and they are the two linchpins of the Pope, the Queen, and the Obama in the New World Order.
Now, the Church has always been against the Jesuits, the institution of the Vatican. Yeah. Always, worked against.
They've been at they have different goals.
Yeah, they've been at odds. Now, maybe the Treaty of Verona has to do with the Vatican as an institution, not with the Jesuits in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jesuits were created to combat the Protestants.
Yeah.
As an intelligence and military order to undermine the Protestant revolution.
Well, that's one version. There's also a different version, and that is that they were created as the covert Illuminati within the church. In other words, the Jesuits are the Illuminati, but inside the church.
Well, I mean, we'll see.
I.e., they're into the world domination scenario, so that the fact that a Jesuit becomes Pope is a culmination of the Jesuit endgame.
And take it into consideration that the Jesuit power, temporal power, or even government power, always took place in Paraguay and in Argentina. It's very telling. It's not a Jesuit from the United States. It's a Jesuit from the area where they governed, physically governed.
Yeah.
Exactly. And always ended up in disaster because the Europeans will send in the armies and kill kill to the dogs, killed everybody.
Yeah. This is fascinating. Yeah, very good.
So, like I said, we don't know how this will play out.
Yeah, so we have to monitor it very carefully, because look what just happened with the Pope and the Queen. It's very important.
I mean, they could be a Trojan horse, and they end up working for our side. We don't know.
Yeah. Very good. Well, look, this is just excellent, and I would like us to keep monitoring this on a continual basis, and then be able to touch base with you as developments happen that you're aware of, and so that we can make this public.
Well, I'm going to try to look into deeper. I have many connections with the government, with Cristina and their grassroots, and
excellent,
and many people around her, and I'll just keep my ears open.
Perfect.
Okay.
Salud y paz.
Salud. Nice talking to you, Alfred, and I appreciate your work, and I think you're a good man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.